developing pure devotional service for Krishna. I'm going to start with Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Nayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaivanuttam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nastaprayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 15, Texts 4 and 5. I will just chant the Sanskrit and then we can do call and response for the synonyms. Tatraruna palavashriya pala prasunoruparena padayo sprisachi convictia vanashpatin mudha smayani vaha grajamari purusha tatraruna palavashriya pala prasunoruparena padayo sprisachi convictia vanashpatin mudha Smayani Vahaga Jamari Purusha Sa He Tatra all around Aruna reddish Palava of their buds Sriya with the beauty Pala of their fruits Prasuna and flowers. Uru Barena with the heavy burden. Parayo at his 2 feet. Sprishat touching. Sikan the tips of their branches. Vikshya seeing. Vanashpatin the lordly trees. The lordly trees. Mudha with joy. Smayan laughing. Eva almost. Aha spoke. Agrajam to his elder brother, Lord Balaram. Adi Purushaha, the primeval supreme Lord. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The primeval Lord saw that the stately trees with their beautiful reddish buds and their heavy burden of fruits and flowers were bending down to touch his feet with the tips of their branches. Thus he smiled gently and addressed his elder brother. Purport. The words Muda Smayan Eva indicate that Lord Krishna was in a joking mood. He knew that the trees were actually bowing down to worship him. But in the following verse, the Lord, speaking in a friendly, light-hearted mood, gives the credit to his brother Balaram. Text 5. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aho Amideva Varamarachitam Param Bhujam Te Sumana Palahanam Namantya Upadaya Sikapir Atmanas Tamo Pahatyay Tarujan Mayadvitam. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aho Amideva Varamarachitam Param Bhujam Te Sumana Palahanam Namantya Upadaya Sikapir Atmanas Tamo Pahatyay Tarujan Mayadvitam. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Lord Shri Krishna said, Aho, oh, Ami, these, Devavara, O best of lords, Shri Balaram, Amara, by the immortal demigods, Architam, worshipped, Hara Ambujam, to the lotus feet, Te, of you, Sumanaha, of flowers, Pala, and fruits, Arhanam, offerings, Namanti, they are bowing down, Upadaya, presenting, Sikabihi, with their heads, Atmana, their own, Tamaha, darkness of ignorance, Apahatyai, for the purpose of eliminating, Taru Janma, their birth as trees, Yat, by which ignorance, Pritam, created. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O greatest of lords, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. Purport: the trees of Vrindavan were thinking that because of past offenses, they had now taken birth as trees, and being immovable, could not accompany Lord Krishna in his wanderings throughout the Vrindavan area. In fact, all the creatures of Vrindavan, including the trees and cows, were great souls who could personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because of ecstatic sentiments of separation, the trees considered themselves in ignorance and thus tried to purify themselves by bowing down at the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. Lord Krishna, understanding their mentality, simultaneously glanced at them with affection and praised their devotional service before his older brother, Balaram. Please join me in praying. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamaya Dadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yura Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Ham Sujimvam Sarvaitam Savaduktam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jayapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhayu Devi Paramami Hari Pre Pancha Kalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatara Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. So there's really beautiful points to discuss from the purport, but I want to actually start with reading just a little bit from the Krishna book of just like setting this scene, because we're in a new chapter. The last couple of classes have been starting this chapter of killing the demons, Vatsasura and Bakasura, but Krishna book just really creates such a beautiful picture. And also Prabhupada, he explains a little bit on these verses and purports in a little bit more depth. Oh, sorry. That's so funny. I had my marker on both chapter 11 and this chapter. It's not that chapter. It's chapter, I have my bookmark here, chapter 15, the killing of Janakasura. Okay, so in this way, Sri Krishna, along with his elder brother Balaram, passed the childhood age known as Homara and stepped into the age of Hoganda from the 6th year up to the 10th. So they're just 6-year-olds at this time. And if everybody can just imagine, what 6-year-olds are like, here in the material world, we see babies and they're so cute, and then we see them grow. And At 6, they're still quite small. They're starting to get a little bit bigger, but they're still quite small at the age of 6 years old. So just imagine how sweet and beautiful Krishna and Balaram must be at this time. How beautiful they must be, and how at that time, Prabhupada continues, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows in the pasturing ground. I don't think we would give anybody in this material world at the age of 6 years old. I don't think we would make them in charge of all the cows. Can you guys imagine anybody that who's 6 years old taking on that incredible responsibility? Definitely not. But Krishna and Balaram, they've already had so many incredible pastimes, and they have the trust and the love of all the Vrajbasis. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balaram traversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balaram, Krishna brought forward the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was full of flowers, vegetables, and pasturing grass. Just think of this beautiful picture Prabhupada is creating, giving us a glimpse into the spiritual world. Krishna with his bluish body decorated with, his curling black locks of hair, and his head decorated with turban and jewels and peacock feathers, and wearing the Kastuba gem and, yellow dhoti and beautiful decorations and flower garland and pigments everywhere. Just imagine how beautiful he is. And he's playing his flute, and they're going into the forest Vrindavan, full of flowers, vegetables, and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee. So it's completely pure, and was full of bees buzzing, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds. Radhe Sham, Radhe Sham. Thank you. That was really good. Adi Pushpaji did it better. And clear water lakes with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna, with his friends and Balaram, entered the forest, and seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. So this is starting from today's verse. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground as if welcoming him by touching his feet. So at other times, I've heard Prabhupada say, a tree that doesn't have flowers and fruit is quite useless. And that kind of a tree is very proud, thinking I am standing so tall. But a real tree that has the flowers and the fruits, it has so much to offer, and it's humble because it's bowing down. So that is a real tree. He was very much pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits, and flowers, and he began to smile, realizing their desires. He's smiling because he's so pleased with their attitude, with their mentality of humility, and offering all respects to him. But then Krishna spoke to his elder brother Balaram as follows. And it says in the purport that he's in a joking mood. My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees, full with fruits and flowers, have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put into the stationary condition of life. But now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association. So it's so interesting that he's explaining this, that they because they have accepted. He goes on, he says, generally, living entities in the mode of darkness obtain the bodies of trees. The impersonalist philosophers are in that darkness, but they eradicate it by taking full advantage of your presence. I think the drones that are buzzing all around you must have been your devotees in their past lives. They cannot leave your company because no one can be a better, more affectionate master than you. You are the supreme and original personality of Godhead, and the drones are just trying to spread your glories by chanting in every moment. I think some of them must be great sages, devotees of your lordship, and they are disguising themselves in the form of drones because they are unable to give up your company even for a moment. So we'll stop there because we don't want to get into other people's verses that are going to be speaking. But it's so interesting because a few things. From the purport, first, in the purport to text 4, the disciples of Prabhupada, they say that Krishna was in like a joking mood. And he actually knew that the trees were bowing down to worshiping him, but he's actually going to give the credit to Balaram because they're brothers, they joke with each other. They have this mood. Krishna's not serious all the time. He likes to make jokes. He likes to play around. He likes to increase the sweetness, And we hear this like in the Vaikuntha planets, like there's so much awe and reverence for Vishnu. And that awe and reverence, it has its place for sure, but it actually disables like joking and intimacy and sweetness. And when the focus is just on relationship with Krishna, the sweetness goes up and Krishna can be himself and he can joke around like that. And I was actually meditating also on our relationship with the spiritual master. Prabhupada, he was like lighthearted and joking around all the time. Not all the time, but quite a bit. And he would be very serious in his purports, very serious in his classes. He would be, smashing the atheists and giving us the absolute truth. But in his dealings with people, he had many different moods. Sometimes we think, oh, the spiritual master always has one mood, right? But they're people, they're human beings, and they have different moods at different times. And I was reflecting on how it's actually the duty of the disciple to understand what mood is my spiritual master in right now, and how to reciprocate with that mood, follow the lead of that mood, flow with that mood. Prabhupada, all the time, he would smile and laugh and think things are funny. And it actually taught his disciples to that laughter and lightheartedness is not Krishna conscious. It's actually Krishna conscious if it's all in relation with Krishna. There's that story of one time Prabhupada was on a plane and they were playing the video of Charlie Chaplin, and Prabhupada, the disciple he was with was like looking away, like, oh, I can't look at that. And Prabhupada was laughing so much, because he was seeing that the source of that humor is Krishna. And even in our relationships with devotees and our relationships with senior devotees also, like we have to understand what is the time for what is the time for lightheartedness, what is the time for seriousness, what is the different moods of senior devotees, and how best to facilitate sweetness. And in the purport to the 5th verse, it's very interesting how, so the trees, they're bowing down, right? He's saying they're bowing down to Balaram, and offering their fruits and flowers. And the trees were thinking that because their past offenses, they had taken birth as trees, being immovable, and could not accompany Krishna in his wanderings around Vrindavan. But in the purport, it actually explains that everyone in Vrindavan, including the trees, they're actually great souls. They're actually having that personal association with Krishna, that personal relationship with Krishna. So it's not that, they were not at that time in Maya. But the trees, they were actually having like ecstatic feelings of separation, and in their ecstasy, and they were bowing down, and in their humility and in that ecstasy of separation, they were considering themselves to be in ignorance. And so Krishna could understand their mentality, and because he was very pleased with their humility and also their ecstatic feelings of separation, he was glancing at them with affection. And Prabhupada, he goes even more deeply into it in the Krishna book, and he's explaining that that actually these trees, they in the past had the impersonal point of view, the impersonal conception of God, and that the impersonal philosophers, that is actually the mode of ignorance or darkness. And so they were put into that stationary condition of life. But now, because they are in Vrindavan, they have the opportunity of seeing Krishna and surrendering their lives to Krishna. And so they've come out of that impersonal conception of God, and they are in the personal conception of God, and they are having a relationship with Krishna. And he explains that, yeah, generally, the living entities in the mode of darkness, they do take bodies of trees. And I mean, you can't really get more ignorant than that, right? It's, imagine not being able to move. And trees, they live a long time. Like there's some trees that are like hundreds and hundreds of years old, and they're naked. They can't move, and they have to just tolerate all the different seasons, the hot, the cold, and they just stand there, and their consciousness is quite covered, right? And then they have to go through the different species of life, through different animals, in order to get to the human form of life. So it's a very degraded thing being a tree. But a tree in Vrindavan is not degraded, because everyone in Vrindavan is Krishna conscious. Everyone in Vrindavan is associating with Krishna. So it's actually a very exalted thing that they have achieved, this post. And this is also just a huge lesson in what actually pleases Krishna, that it is our humility that pleases Krishna, and offering everything that we have. These trees were literally giving everything to Krishna. And there's sometimes it is said that Krishna doesn't see what we give, he sees what we hold back. So these trees weren't holding anything back. They were giving everything to Krishna. And we have to look at our lives and we have to see, is there anything I'm holding back? Is there anything that I'm not giving to Krishna? How can I give everything to my spiritual master? How can I give everything to Krishna? And in that mood of humility. And then Krishna will smile at us. And many people have had that experience with Prabhupada disciples, or experience with their own spiritual master, that when you're in a puffed up consciousness or incorrect consciousness, Prabhupada or our spiritual master wouldn't as much reciprocate with us. But when we're in the right consciousness, I've had the experience of when I'm in the right consciousness, then having my spiritual master smile at me. And through that, the spiritual master is also teaching us what is pleasing to him and what is not pleasing to him. And we have to remember that it doesn't matter what service we are doing, cleaning the bathrooms and worshiping the deities on the altar are actually the same. One service isn't better than another service. They're all absolute. And it's not the specific service that pleases Krishna, but the mood in which we do the service, the humility in which we do the service, our heart, offering our heart in which we do the service. So that's what we actually have to focus on. So I'm going to actually stop a little earlier than I normally do so that we can open it up for discussion and questions. So we'll first ask people in the temple room if they have any comments, questions, realizations, reflections, and then we'll open it up to the online audience.
What a beautiful class. We delight in your existence, Champakalata Machi. There's a verse. Parastas matu bhavanyo vyakto vikyat sanatana. That beyond this world that we experience, there's another realm of existence. And there's these descriptions of the purity. In this world, the rivers are polluted, the air is polluted, the sound vibration polluted, the minds of the people are polluted, but there's another world, which is where we're from and where we can go, where there's another quality of life. It's very consoling to hear about it. And what brings it to that level of purity is that Krishna is in the center. So Krishna is reminding us of that and calling us to that. And it's available, like you said, for everyone when we give everything. It said, Prabhupada said, anybody can purchase Krishna, but it's going to cost you everything you've got. How wonderful is Krishna? He's worth it. Let's see what other people have to contribute. We'd like to hear everyone.
Thank you. Okay, let's open it up to the online audience.
Okay, great class, Champak. I just wanted to quickly reflect on the point that you made, that what matters is the mood in which we're doing our service. And I was thinking on what Ganesha once told me, because there was some not misunderstand, but some friction going on. And I asked Ganesha Prabhu, how do I deal with that? And he said, deal with that in a humble way. Don't get your ego involved. Without ego, humbly. Say what you have to say, but don't get your ego involved. I found that very valuable instruction. Like you said, we have to be humble in our service. No room for ego. Ego shouldn't stand in the way. You know, sometimes we get overly fired up in our service and try to push through like a freight train. But then, is that ego, or is that our sincere desire to serve? That's my 5 cents. Yeah.
Is that a question at the
No,
end?
it's a reflection. It's a deep reflection.
That's super beautiful. You know, I'll tell you one story. Because Ganeshan Prabhu shared that with you, and he's such an example. And one time, I was in the room with Radhanath Swami and Ganeshan Prabhu and a few others, and someone asked Radhanath Swami, he always wants Ganeshan Prabhu around. He always, whenever he sees him, he just like invites him into his room. And someone asked Radhanath Swami, why is it that you always want Ganeshan Prabhu around? And Radhanath Swami said, because throughout all the different reiterations and managements of the Bhakti Center, Ganeshan Prabhu has never taken sides. And I found that so deep and so beautiful that he was instructing us whenever there's conflict or friction to never take sides, to never gossip, to never say bad things about devotees, but to stay neutral and not criticize and be humble.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's Ganesham. That's our Ganesham.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Always friendly, always encouraging, always Krishna conscious.
Yeah, always kind to everyone. Anybody else have any comments or questions? You know, normally when I leave 5 minutes, there's not enough time. People have questions they can't answer. Now I left more time and people aren't saying, okay, Krishna Das raised his hand.
Hare Krishna, Champakalata Prabhu, very nice class. Thank you so much. I have a small question. In the middle of the class, you are saying that it is important for the disciple to understand the current mood of spiritual master. But sometimes it is also said the nature of the exalted personalities, it is very difficult to guess Vaishnavera Kriya, Mutra, Vijnana Bhujai. So how to ensure that we will not go into the guessing mode? Because sometimes we start speculating, oh, my spiritual master did this. So like sometimes Srila Prabhupada took something and then the entire movement started following it. So how to maintain that balance?
That's a good question. Thank you. I think sometimes it's obvious, you know, like if the spiritual master is being very grave, you know, for example, Radhanath Swami, whenever he gives initiation, he's very grave. And that we can just see, you know, we can just see it very plainly, very obviously. He's in a grave mood. If your spiritual master is in a grave mood, you don't go up to him and crack a joke, you know. If your spiritual master is in a grave mood, you respect that and meditate on the seriousness of the situation and open your heart to hear from the spiritual master and receive the spiritual master's instructions. And if the, you know, spiritual master is like Rukmini Walker, she one time told me, sometimes she thinks when she's talking to Radha Swami that like, she's gonna like talk about Vrindavan and Radha and Krishna. And sometimes he will. And other times he just wants to, talk about, a park in Highland Park where they grew up because they grew up in the same place. And so just like in normal conversation, you can understand someone's mood. It's the same like that with a spiritual master, just follow their lead. I'm not so much talking about like instructions, Prabhu, like kind of what you said. You were saying some people heard instructions of Prabhupada and then they would, put those through ISKCON. I'm just talking about like conversation and when you're with the spiritual master in person and you can just, be a little normal, with them. Like it doesn't take away your worship of them, but just respect what mood they're, the spiritual master might be tired and not want to talk, and that isn't the time to like bombard them with questions. So that is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Prabhu. You simplified it so much. I was complicating it much.
I will. Anybody else? Let's see if anybody.
Yeah, one time, this year actually, Rath Yatra, last year rather, Radhanath Maharaj was here and Ganesham was supposed to come and his flight got delayed and he got late for the Rath Yatra. And then as soon as Radhanath Maharaj saw him and Ganesham approached him, then, there was crowds of people bombarding Maharaj. It was Rath Yatra, lots of devotees everywhere. And Maharaj looked at Ganesham. Ganesham told me, and he whispered in his ear, "Stay with me." He told Ganesham, "Stay with me." And Ganesham was around. I think it was maybe 2 years ago, maybe not this year, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, I may be wrong with that. But there was a very sweet moment of this loving exchange between the guru and the sincere disciple. Stay with me.
It was this year. He wasn't here last year. It was this year. And I saw when Ganesham Prabhu came. So yeah, I saw him do that. That's really special. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? You wanted to share one more thing?
Hare Krishna. You were mentioning about Ganesham Prabhu not taking sides. He remains affectionate, and when there's a disagreement among devotees, Chief Goswami recommends not to take sides and to understand this is a disagreement about how to serve Krishna. It's not a matter of false ego. It's not a matter of like, me, no me, and trying to push forward what I want, but a discussion about how to serve Krishna best. So that both sides are to be appreciated, and we don't necessarily have to take sides in it. We can allow them to work out what they have to work out. And Maharaj found that very refreshing, that Ganesham is not like involved in politics or power politics, like they call it. He's innocent and well-wisher of everyone. All glories to Prabhupada.
Yeah, and also like a lot of times, sometimes people can disagree and fight over such small things, actually, and it's the Krishna conscious thing to like forgive. Okay, the conch shell is blowing. Haribol.
Thank you, Champakalata. Donate us to Krishna. Okay, after glow time, Vasudev Prabhu looked at us briefly. That was very auspicious. Okay. Sundaranandaji, how have you been? Where have you been? Are you in the office pretending to work?
Sorry, bro. I was muted. I just think always Champakalata's classes are inspiring. Today, unfortunately, because of running here and there, I couldn't catch too much of it. I'll catch the recording though. My only thing with Simon again is just the morning sangha helps to stay focused and continue. Stay focused with everything. For people like me, who are just all over the place. That's all I have to say. Oh, sorry, this is probably, because I have a USB speaker. I think I need to speak close to this. Is this better now? Yeah, I got one of these things. It's called Music Baby. That's all I can say. That's my takeover. Use technology for Krishna. That's about it.
Yeah, stay focused on Krishna. Sundarananda, thank you. Thank you. Okay, would anyone else like to share? Rich on the path of devotion, where are you? We miss you. I mean, we're glad we're in your pocket somewhere close to you. So that's good.
I'm here.
We're in your loving hands now. Cool.
Yeah. I'm in Boston at the moment. Looking forward to getting back to Maine. But yeah, sorry I've been quiet for a while. I've just been busy. Spent a lot of time out at that animal sanctuary just because they were shorthanded over the holidays. So oftentimes my workday was just getting started as this class was ending. But anyway, I mean, as for today's class, my goodness, I'm just satisfied to hear from and about such beautiful devotees. And
What animal sanctuary?
it's called Peace Ridge Sanctuary, and their
Is that
main
a wolf?
location. What's that?
What animals?
Oh, I know the wolf one. That's out towards Bar Harbor. But no, so Peace Ridge Sanctuary, they have about 500 animals, all from various abuse and neglects. Everything from goats to sheep to horse, monkeys, bunnies, tons of hospice dogs and so forth. And my glamorous responsibility principally is to shovel goat, sheep, and cow poop, which I actually get a huge amount of pleasure in doing for some reason.
You are a brother at arms. It's a great time to chant. It's a great time to chant when you're shoveling, because you're simultaneously understanding, or we are simultaneously understanding our true position in this world, and at the same time filling our hearts with Krishna's name. So all glories to your service, Prabhu.
So true. And hey, while I have your attention, I had a moment, a thought, a question while I was out there the other day, and thought maybe your reflections would be helpful. So, I mean, it's well known that I'm a deeply flawed neophyte, but as I'm out there, it takes me about 5 hours to clean the goat barn, for instance. And at the very end of that process, I go up to the top of their barn, I stack up 4 bales of hay, throw them down, and spread them across their feeders and so forth. But as obviously have a lot of time to think about things as you're shoveling and hauling for 5 hours, and I do a lot of chanting out loud and to myself, and then when I stack up those bales of hay, I get down on my hands and knees up there, and I've kind of covered in filth. I just take my hat off and kneel down in the straw, and in my imperfect way, I just pray and try to offer that food to Krishna before I give it to the hungry animals. And but as I think about that, I'm like, I spend a lot of time in these classes hearing from such wonderful devotees and true devotees, pure devotees. And, there's this idea that there might be some unsuspecting person on the street that doesn't even know what or who Krishna is. But if they can just hear the names, say them once, or if they can just innocently take some bit of prasadam, they'll get some benefit, right? And when I'm praying before these bales of hay on my knees, I'm thinking, well, okay, I know I'm far from a Adi Purusha, but maybe just in that spirit of the mailman, as they describe, in that spirit of the mailman, I'm just an instrument, I'm just the messenger. Maybe there's some little benefit that I can deliver, even though I have no qualifications of my own. But then you know, sometimes I was just driving away the other day and I thought, gosh, here I am. I feel like I'm almost in this position of implicit arrogance or superiority to think that I'm the one that can benefit these beautiful creatures. And then I think, you want to know what might be happening here is I'm just that monkey taking the butter. I'm the unwitting person on the street that knows nothing, understands nothing. And it's really being out here around all of these amazing innocent creatures and beautiful nature and the trees and the little red squirrels and, you know, and I'm the one taking the prasadam from them. So I just, yes.
Okay. We have to remember that there's a whole mess of other people on the class, but I will tell you something. It is true. But the way to think about this is that you are transparent via media. That means that grace of Krishna goes through you. You are, the radio that you have is not performing the music. The music is coming from musicians. It's beamed through the air and the music comes out the speaker. So that's basically what we do when we offer. We are offering it to our spiritual master, to the line of disciplic succession, and then it's handed up all the way to Krishna. And always remember, Krishna looks at the intent. You know, if your intent is pure, if in that moment your prayer is sincere, you're not rushing, you're not saying something ritual, you're not just whipping off some Sanskrit syllables, but you're actually saying, Krishna, please bless this food, let these animals, these innocent animals. And I tell you, you know, we should not think it's such a far-fetched thing that the miracle that these animals are going to get direct grace and direct mercy from Krishna because of your involvement with them, even with chanting the holy name around them out loud. When I chant in the woods while I'm walking, I chant out loud, not loud, but loud enough for the trees and the creepers to hear, lest I become a tree or a creeper in my next life. At least I'll have that coming back to me. So what you're doing is 100% stop thinking I. If we keep thinking I, we're just going to end up in a ditch. Start thinking that we are just Krishna's tools in this. So that's a wonderful scene that you set up there. It sounds great, Prabhu. Keep at it. You're doing Sankirtan. There, in no way, shape, or form is this anything different than Sankirtan. The soul that's in a goat body is no less important than the soul that's in my body. Probably more important. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Beautiful, beautiful reflections, gentlemen. Hare Krishna. Rich, is that snow on your beard or gray hair?
No, that's just time, destroyer of worlds.
Time destroyer of worlds. Yes, yes. Nice, great. Okay, thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you for participating, sharing in this class. And say hi, Rich, say hi to all the unsuspecting goats and other animals from us. We're channeling Srila Prabhupada's grace as best as we can. So let's keep doing this and come back tomorrow. There's a whole lot of grace to spread. We got a lot of work to do. So come back tomorrow. It was nice seeing you all. Bhima Prabhu, William Prabhu, Rich Bhakti, Sundar Nandaji, Suzanne, Angel. Love you all. Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.